At Incheon International Airport, the atmosphere that was once calm and organized changed completely in a matter of seconds. The source of disruption did not come from a security failure or any technical incident. The disturbance came from one individual walking calmly, dressed in a wardrobe full of symbolism, defying the conventional expectations of South Korea's entertainment industry. That man was Park Jimin, a BTS member and global ambassador of the fashion house Dior. His appearance was not merely a form of personal expression, but a climactic moment in the long-simmering tension between the K-pop industry, the international fashion world, and public perception of an idol's identity. Without a smile, without friendly interaction with cameras, and without the typical theatrical airport gestures that have long been the standard for Korean celebrities, Jimin walked firmly through the departure hall. He wore a Dior suit not designed to casually draw attention, but to shake cultural structures. A structured wool blazer with extreme shoulder cuts, cropped to reveal an inner layer of thin neutral mesh, paired with high-waisted loose trousers and corset buckle accents, formed a bold yet ambiguous silhouette. This was not just clothing. This was a visual intervention against the boundaries of masculinity and femininity in East Asian culture. A few hours after Jimin's appearance, Jonathan Anderson, the new creative director of Dior, uploaded a photo of the idol to his personal Instagram with a single emoji, lightning. No caption, no clarification. Yet the impact was massive. Social media exploded within minutes. Jimin's name trended globally in under 20 minutes, not because of BTS group activity, nor from an official announcement by the agency, but because of a singular appearance that immediately fractured public perceptions of how an idol should look. Fundamental questions arose swiftly and mercilessly. Did Jimin cross a line that public figures in Korea are not supposed to touch? Was he knowingly being used as a tool in Dior's marketing strategy? Or is he the main actor in an intentional personal narrative? Furthermore, was this appearance a rebellious expression against the K-pop image shaped by industry control? Or was it the early symbol of a total redefinition of an idol's role on the global stage? Tensions escalated when several sources stated that the look was originally part of Dior's internal collection, whose release in Asia was once rejected for being too radical. But somehow, the outfit was now worn by Jimin at the most public location imaginable, a decision that seemed far from spontaneous. Speculation emerged that Jimin had directly requested the look, setting aside directions from his agency and brand representatives in the Asian region. Korean online forums were divided. Some netizens admired Jimin's boldness. They viewed the appearance as a reflection of Jimin's position not merely as a fashion figure, but as a meaning maker and symbol designer. However, others stated he had violated social norms, misused his influence, and damaged the perception of idols long associated with modesty, order, and respect for the domestic audience. The media response was cautious. Some outlets chose not to touch the controversial aspects of the outfit, merely reporting on the departure of Jimin and other BTS members. In the West, the opposite happened. Vogue, Harper's Bazaar, and GQ called Jimin's appearance the most significant fashion moment in the global airport circuit this year. They highlighted his bravery in wearing pieces typically only seen in experimental runways, turning the airport into a stage for high-level fashion politics. Yet the biggest spotlight came not from media or fans, but from within Dior itself. Some unconfirmed reports mentioned that the appearance triggered an emergency meeting between Dior's US communications team and Jimin's agency representatives. The goal was not to dampen controversy, but to evaluate the potential launch of a special campaign featuring Jimin as the main face. Some sources indicated that the campaign would spotlight a narrative of identity liberation in a post-categorical world, which is central to Jonathan Anderson's new vision. Meanwhile, Jimin gave no statements. No Instagram posts, no comments on official platforms like Weverse. He only wrote one short sentence sent through the fan community channel. "We arrived safely. We're working hard." This silence was not seen as neutral. It actually intensified the ambiguity, inviting broad interpretation. Was this a form of ignoring the harsh reactions? Or was he preparing a follow-up symbolic statement in another form? What further complicated speculation was the emergence of a photo of Jimin at Los Angeles airport, hours after arrival. In the photo, he was seen holding an unreleased Dior bag, known as a prototype from the unisex capsule line reportedly canceled for the fall 2025 runway debut for being too experimental. The fact that the bag appeared in Jimin's hands, in front of a global public, indicated exclusive access not even held by typical brand ambassadors. This situation points to two possibilities. First, Jimin is carrying out a tightly orchestrated Dior mission to test market reactions to strategically planted products. Second, he is executing an intentional personal agenda to reshape his perception as a cultural figure, not just as a BTS member. Either scenario, whatever the truth, implies that Jimin now operates in a power zone vastly different from his peers. While Jungkook and Suga, who departed with him, appeared in casual attire and calm expressions, Jimin stood apart, visually and symbolically. No interaction between them was captured by public cameras. The absence of visual communication raised suspicions that they were not directly involved in the appearance decision. The lack of public support added to the sense that this was a deliberate solo act, not part of a group promotion or agency strategy. In Seoul, discussions among industry observers began focusing on the long-term consequences of this act. Some assessed that Jimin's action, intentional or not, had shifted the position of a K-pop idol from a commercial object to a subject of high-risk cultural expression. This means Jimin was not just modifying his image. He was challenging the system, in a world long controlled by strict protocols, market mapping, and complex cultural regulations. Such an act can be read as a form of resistance, not just against the K-pop system, but against the global marketing system that treats idols as tools. If Jimin is now positioning himself as a narrative creator, then all parties, from hybe to Dior, must adjust their steps. Digital campaigns suddenly appeared on several international forums. Calls to support Jimin's freedom of expression were promoted by global fans. But in Korea, conservative editorials began raising issues around negative influence on youth. In one opinion piece published in a national daily, the writer questioned whether a public figure as large as Jimin should be showcasing fashion that goes against societal values. This sentiment cannot be ignored, as public opinion in Korea still greatly influences celebrity careers. But behind all the debate, one thing became clear. Jimin no longer operates within the boundaries long accepted by industry and society. He has stepped into a gray zone, where every visual decision carries meaning, every piece of clothing is a political statement, and every silence is the loudest form of communication. Dior seems to have realized this earlier than his agency. This is evident in their swift response to global attention, not with denial, but with amplification. If it's true that Jimin is now the face of Dior's visual revolution in the Asian region, then all criticism and praise he receives today will only be the beginning. The question is no longer whether Jimin crossed a line, but whether the world is willing to shift those lines to follow him. Because if all he did was wear an outfit, then the world should not have been shaken. But the reality is he walked and everyone had to stop and watch. And that, in modern cultural politics, is the most real form of power. Yet amid the public frenzy, a fundamental question must be asked. Is this entire series of events truly real, or merely a strategic construct to create a calculated wave of global sensation? Are we witnessing an artist's authentic expression of shifting cultural identity, or is this a form of image manipulation designed to dominate the international media narrative? It cannot be ignored that most of the information circulating about Jimin's appearance comes from social media platforms like TikTok, Twitter, and YouTube, platforms known for information dynamics not always based on verification. Are you certain that Jimin chose the outfit himself? Or was he directed by larger industry forces? Is his silent expression a form of personal resistance, or part of a meticulously scripted promotion? How can we distinguish between substantial truth and marketing strategy? Is this a form of artistic freedom, or merely a fashion scenario wrapped in a rebellion narrative? We urge you not to be a passive consumer of visuals and viral headlines. Do every quote, upload, and image you see truly represent factual events? Or are they part of a media illusion architecture exploiting public reaction for algorithmic gain? Remember, visual sensation often spreads faster than factual truth. Therefore, reflect. Are you witnessing reality or being led to believe a polished version shaped by specific interests? Think critically. Question every claim. Investigate every narrative. Because only with sustained skepticism can we distinguish true rebellion from a staged performance. The phenomenon occurring at Incheon International Airport can no longer be read merely as an ordinary event in the realm of entertainment or the fashion industry. This is a cultural occurrence that shakes social foundations, divides public opinion, and places one figure, Park Jimin, in a strategic position that goes far beyond the representative function of an idol. Nevertheless, before we accept this grand narrative, the most fundamental question must be raised. Is this reality? Or are we the target of a media scenario designed to manipulate public perception for certain interests, fabrication, or authentic expression? Are you truly certain that Park Jimin chose the outfit by his own will? Or is he part of a carefully designed global promotional mechanism by the fashion house Dior and the entertainment agency that houses him? We're not talking about a single piece of clothing. We are discussing socio-political symbolism wrapped in aesthetic form. Therefore, it is important to ask, is it possible for a public figure as prominent as Jimin to act independently in a highly structured and controlled environment like the K-pop industry, in a system known for rigid management control, where every gesture, expression, even a pause of silence by an idol has been pre-calculated? Is it possible for Jimin to act entirely outside of his agency scheme? And if it is true that he did so, then the next question is, for whom and for what purpose was this action taken? If this is a personal expression, then we are witnessing a radical transition from idol to cultural actor producing meaning. But if this is part of a marketing scenario, then we are consumers of an image strategically manipulated. Criticism of information sources, it must be emphasized that the information shaping this grand narrative, including the alleged involvement of Dior, speculation about internal agency conflict, and political interpretations of the clothing, mostly comes from open and institutionally unverified sources. TikTok, Twitter, YouTube, and online forums are the main sources informing public opinion about this event. Amidst such a rapid and overwhelming flow of information, have we been critical enough in distinguishing between facts and algorithmically layered interpretations? Does Jonathan Anderson's post with a lightning emoji truly signify support for Jimin's action? Or is it being used to boost Dior's digital reach? Is Jimin's silence a form of passive resistance, or a tactic designed to generate wild interpretations that benefit his personal image? Reflection on public response. The division of public opinion in South Korea shows that a visual act perceived as simple can have very complex social resonance. On one hand, there is recognition of Jimin's courage in breaking traditional masculinity norms in East Asian society. On the other hand, a conservative narrative arises questioning a public figure's moral responsibility toward their society. Did Jimin violate social norms, or are those very norms now beginning to shift? Are we witnessing the emergence of a new paradigm in the role of celebrities in Asia, or merely seeing a new version of the same manipulation, now more sophisticatedly packaged? Visual as political tool. Every element in Jimin's appearance, the jacket structure, the trouser cut, the fabric color, even the experimental accessories, cannot be separated from political meaning in the visual cultural space. In an intensely visual world obsessed with appearance, can we believe all this happened without a specific narrative design? Or are we the subjects of engineering that uses symbols to create the illusion of freedom? While Western media praises Jimin as a pioneer of bold aesthetics, do they truly understand Korea's sociocultural context? Or are they merely using Jimin as a new medium in the visual capitalization of Asia? If this is a power shift from entertainment agencies to international brands, who really holds control over this narrative, an invitation to critical thinking we invite you, the reader, not to stop at the surface of information. Do not become a passive consumer of the illusion architecture created by the combination of entertainment, fashion, and social media industries. Ask yourself, has the information you read gone through proper verification? Are you consuming reality or being led to believe in a strategic construction designed to cause a sensation? Is Jimin's silence proof of personal integrity or a high-level marketing strategy? Is the photo at Los Angeles airport with a Dior prototype bag proof of exclusivity or a deliberately planted image? Provisional conclusion: one thing is now undeniable. Jimin, consciously or not, has entered a narrative power vortex that merges aesthetics, politics, and the global economy. He is no longer merely a representative of Korean pop culture, but a complex symbol whose meaning is contested by many interests. Yet again, before we get trapped in the charm or controversy, we must ask, is this a form of freedom of expression, or a new prison wrapped more beautifully? We offer no absolute answers, because in the end, judgment lies entirely in your hands. However, do not let yourself be caught in the wave of sensation. Be a skeptical reader. Be a reflective viewer. For only with full awareness and sharp critical capacity can we distinguish between reality and representation. And perhaps, in today's era, that is the only form of freedom that remains. Visual discipline in the K-pop ecosystem. The K-pop industry is known for full control over its artists' visuals. No element of appearance is released randomly. Everything is determined, tested, and approved through layers of management and creative teams. Therefore, when a major figure like Jimin appears with a silhouette that explicitly crosses boundaries of masculinity norms and plays with gender codes in public space, this is not a trivial event. But the more important question is, if such an act didn't get the system's approval, how could it materialize? Is it true that Jimin bypassed his agency's internal authorization system? Or is the system itself now transforming, using symbols of resistance as a new marketing tool in the post-truth era? If this event is truly an internal violation, then sanctions, warnings, or public distancing from the agency would appear. But to date, there has been no official indication from HYBE labels rejecting the act. This shows two possibilities. The system no longer functions as the main controller, or the system has absorbed this form of rebellion as part of narrative growth strategy. Militarization of imagery and capitalization of controversy in the digital attention economy. Visuals are no longer merely a communication medium. They are weapons. Jimin's appearance at the airport, accompanied by items from Dior's experimental collection not yet released in Asia, is a form of soft shock with very high capital value potential. Strengthened by Jonathan Anderson's symbolic post, the sequence creates a multi-directional narrative that never confirms, but also never denies. It is precisely in the void of official statements that the public becomes the main agent in filling meaning, making every reaction a part of the algorithmic marketing ecosystem. The question is, does Jimin realize that his silence is the most effective amplification tool? Or has he himself become the object of that strategy, wrapped in a narrative of freedom while the architecture behind him counts engagement, traffic, and market sentiment? If we accept the possibility that silence is a strategic statement, then we must acknowledge that every component of this event has been programmed, and the public is merely part of a mass experiment in cultural behavior. The intersection of fashion, identity, and market ideology. The clothing Jimin wore is not merely a fashion object. It is a complex ideological statement. The jacket's extreme structure, the transparent fabric challenging East Asia's traditional modesty concept, down to the buckle detail resembling a restraining instrument, all deliver non-neutral messages. This is a form of visual communication involving gender power, the redefinition of the Asian male body, and the shift of masculinity values. Are we witnessing a declaration of identity freedom? Or are we seeing a market diversification strategy via liminal aesthetics deliberately used to blur categories? If it's true that Dior has prepared a campaign titled identity liberation in a post-categorical world, then we must ask, is Jimin the subject of this narrative or merely the object of presentation for global market ideology? If the answer is the latter, then everything appearing as liberation is in fact a new form of bondage, the role of social media as truth curator amid narrative ambiguity. Society today uses social media as the main truth curator. TikTok shows edited emotional clips. Twitter amplifies opinions not necessarily based on facts. YouTube presents visual analysis based on speculative clip segments. In this context, public opinion is shaped not by data, but by the most viral dominant narrative. So the question is, are you forming opinions based on facts or based on a narrative designed to appear authentic? Can you distinguish between event documentation and perception production? If truth is measured by the number of likes, then we are living in a value system that does not guarantee accuracy. Systemic consequences on the idol's role. If this event is seen as the starting point of a shift in an idol's role from industry object to cultural agent, then the system that has shaped them must be questioned. Is the public ready to accept idols as subjects who can challenge social norms, or will the system attempt to return them to a neutral position for market stability?